Good morning from Athens, Greece. It is 9 o'clock here on this Friday morning. I am at the Law University in downtown central Athens. Let's talk about the news. The big breaking story is, of course, the attempted assassination of the former Prime Minister of Japan, former Prime Minister Abe. And as of right now, as I'm filming this video, the Japanese Prime Minister is in the hospital showing no vital signs after an attempted assassination. He was speaking in the city of Nara, and he was giving a speech to the people there, to the crowds, when, according to one witness, he was giving his speech and a man came from behind. The first shot sounded like a toy. He didn't fall, and there was a large bang. The second shot was more visible, and you could see the spark and smoke. Local media in Japan, they are reporting that Abe was in a state of cardiopulmonary arrest after the shooting, citing local fire officials. There's all kinds of photos and videos of the shooting as well. And there's not much else to say, actually. Former Prime Minister of Japan, attempted assassination at this moment in time. Things do not look good. From what I read, I can't confirm this, he was shot in the back chest area as well as the neck. But once again, I can't confirm this, and as the day goes along, we're going to get more and more information. But that's the latest that I have with the attempted assassination at this moment in time of Abe. The man has been arrested, and I'm also reading that the suspect is supposedly in his 40s, and he is being interrogated at this moment by the police. Abe was the longest-serving prime minister for Japan, Japan's longest-serving prime minister. And he was speaking in favor of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. That is all we know. Japan, really, really bad week for Japan, and really bad couple of months for Japan. Things are spiraling out of control. So with that said, let's shift gears and talk about another country that is spiraling out of control, and that is the UK. And we have the man who is responsible for pushing the UK close to the cliff, or perhaps even over the cliff, and that is Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister at this moment of the United Kingdom. Boris Johnson resigned yesterday after something like 40 or 50 people in his cabinet resigned. He had a whole bunch of cabinet defections, the highest profile being Javid and Sunak. And the question is, where do we go from here? Boris Johnson has left the United Kingdom in an absolute terrible state. The reason the UK is in a terrible state is manifold, but I believe the big reason for pushing the UK over the cliff, there's a lot of things that brought the UK towards that cliff, but what pushed the country over the cliff was Boris Johnson's unwavering, undying support for Zelensky and for the Ukraine project and the Russian regime change project. The sanctions, the escalation, that is what eventually pushed the UK over the cliff. Of course, you had 2 years of coup and lockdowns and money printing, but it was the sanctions, and it was Zelensky and waging a war against Russia that eventually did Boris Johnson in. And so the question is, what happens to the UK now? Boris Johnson is not leaving the country in a better state. He is leaving the country on the brink of collapse. And I was reading all kinds of analysis as to what happens next. I'm reading stories that say Boris Johnson wants to remain as a caretaker prime minister until October, November. I'm reading that there are a bunch of people who are lined up now to succeed Boris Johnson. There's going to be a type of power struggle in the Conservative Party to see who's going to take over for Boris Johnson. I'm hearing Sunak, even though Sunak was badly damaged by various scandals involving his billionaire wife. I'm hearing Liz Truss, but Liz Truss is pretty much brain dead. She's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And I'm hearing actually Ben Wallace's name come up, the defense minister. His name is coming up. I'm hearing other potential candidates as well, Hunt and other people. But there was actually like a snap poll that took place amongst conservative MPs, and Wallace's name came up on top. I don't know if that's accurate. But either way, whoever does replace Boris Johnson, unfortunately, whoever is going to replace him from the list that I've seen is not going to be able to pull the country back from the abyss that Boris took it into. Boris has done just a lot of damage to the country. And at this moment in time, Sunak, Truss, Wallace, all these candidates that are being floated around, I can't see any of them being able to save the country from the trajectory that it's on. And I say that because all of the conservative, or most of the conservative establishment, and the labor establishment for that matter, because you have Stammer, who is calling for snap elections, and he senses an opportunity to perhaps get into power, though I don't see it happening. But all of these people and all these options that are being floated around, they're not going to do the one thing that the country needs to be done in order to get it back on some sort of rational path. And that is to ditch Zelensky, ditch Ukraine, and start focusing on the post-Brexit UK that Boris Johnson promised he would deliver. No one is going to do that. Not one leader, no one in the UK establishment is committed, from what I've seen, to ditching the Ukraine project, to ditching the Russia regime change project, to stopping the escalation with Russia. And until that happens, I think that the situation in the UK is just going to continue to depreciate. I just don't see it getting better. What the UK needs right now is a leader who will get the Zelensky monkey off their back, the Zelensky curse. Someone who is going to move away from the Zelensky curse, because what you're seeing right now in the collective West, and I mentioned this in a video a couple of months back, maybe even a month back, that Zelensky is a curse. Supporting Zelensky is going to come back and destroy the very leaders that are giving him that support. It is a curse, and it's taken apart all kinds of countries, and we're not even in the winter yet. We're seeing the coalition in Estonia fell apart, Bulgaria's falling apart. Look at what's happening in Japan. The U.S. is not doing any better. Biden's poll numbers are in the toilet. I mean, I don't think they can go any lower. Can his poll numbers go any lower? I don't know. There are people in the U.S. who are saying that it is a recession. It is a full-on recession right now. And so, we're seeing the UK fall apart, and it's falling apart because of this failed Ukraine project and these sanctions. and escalation towards Russia. What the UK needs to do is they need a leader who's tough enough to say, we're out. We're getting rid of this clown Zelensky, and we're pulling out of this failed Ukraine project. That's what it needs. And I can't see anyone doing it. Ben Wallace had a meeting with Shoigu before the special military operation. He traveled to Moscow and had a meeting with Shoigu. And actually, the meeting went well. I remember that meeting. The two men actually got along. Despite their differences, they actually were able to communicate. And everyone saw that as a positive sign. But what happened when Ben Wallace got back to London? The mainstream media, they started piling on the pressure on Wallace, and he folded. And he started to say the same stupid rhetoric about Russia, and Russia is evil, and Russia is this, and it's got an economy the size of Delaware and Iowa and Cyprus and Malta and God knows what, and Putin is a dictator, and we have to remove the Putin regime. Anyway, he was saying all the standard stupid stuff. It's a gas station masquerading as a country. All of these stupid things that we've gotten so used to hearing. After he had a very productive meeting with Shoigu, he got back to London, and he showed no backbone, no strength to take on the media and to take on the pressure from the establishment. So anyway, what the UK needs, dare I say, is they need a Putin. They need Vladimir Putin, or someone like Vladimir Putin at this moment in time, to put the country back together again, because it is a broken country. Boris Johnson broke the UK, and it needs someone to put it back together again, and it needs someone who is strong enough to clean house in the halls of power, to clean house with the oligarch class, and to start putting the country back on the right path. And since we're talking about Putin, let's talk about Putin. And he gave a speech to, I think it was to parliament members, actually. And I'm going to read you his speech, or at least the highlights of his speech, what he said, which is really getting a lot of attention, even in the collective West media. And I'm going to take these excerpts from RT, and the title of their article is "Russia Hasn't Really Started Anything Yet." That is the title of the article. And it's a very short article. I'm going to read right through it, and then we'll continue to discuss what's going on. Russia is ready to engage in peace negotiations with Ukraine, President Putin said on Thursday, warning that those who reject such prospects should realize that prolonging the ongoing conflict would only make such talks more difficult. Quote, "We do not refuse to negotiate peace, but those who refuse should know that the longer they do, the more difficult it will be to negotiate," Putin said, issuing a warning to those who might think Russia has already exhausted its capabilities amid the conflict. "We hear today that they want us to be defeated on the battlefield. Well, what can I say? Let them try. We haven't even really started anything yet." Putin also said that the West appears to actually be willing to fight until the last Ukrainian, which he said is a tragedy for the Ukrainian people. The president blamed the ongoing conflict on the US-led NATO, stressing that Russia's consistent efforts to create a fair international security system have been jeopardized. Quote, "The initiatives to work together on missile defense have been rejected. Warnings about the unacceptability of NATO expansion, especially at the expense of the former Soviet republics, have been ignored," Putin said. If the West's goal was to provoke a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, it has evidently succeeded in that, Putin admitted. On the strategic level, however, the West already lost when Moscow launched its military operation in Ukraine, Putin stated. "They should have realized that they had already lost from the very beginning of our special military operation, because its beginning also means the beginning of a complete breakdown of the American world order." The president added that the ongoing breakdown cannot be stopped. Wow. So that last paragraph was something else, huh? The beginning, the Ukraine conflict, egging Russia on, poking the bear, meant that, yes, they got the conflict that they wanted, NATO and the US, but according to Putin, it was the beginning of a complete breakdown of the American world order. And this cannot be stopped. That's a quote from Putin. The other quote that is catching a lot of attention, that is getting a whole ton of attention, is that Putin said, "We haven't even really started anything yet in Ukraine." Those that believe that Russia is exhausting its military capabilities, they're running out of missiles, they're suffering casualties that are unthinkable, that they've been stopped by the Ukraine military, and their progress is grinding to a halt, or their progress has slowed down. All of these things, according to Putin, in the quote, are complete fiction, and that Russia hasn't even started to show what it can do on the battlefield in Ukraine. So that quote caught a lot of attention, and to be quite honest, Putin is right, I believe, because we have to always remember, and Scott Ritter is someone that always reminds us of this, and good on him for reminding us of this. Russia has still not declared war. They are still treating this as a special military operation. Andrei Martyanov also always reminds everybody of this fact. Russia has not declared war, and this is still a special military operation. Alexander echoes the points of Martyanov, because Alexander also says that Russia is fighting this war without the full might of their military because they have not declared war. And what Putin is saying is pretty much, can you imagine if you continue to poke and push us, to poke the bear, continue to push us, what would happen if we actually did put our full force, our full military might into Ukraine and actually declared war? That's what Putin is saying. And he's right. Russia is not fighting this war with full strength at all. Not even close. I've heard estimates of around 20% of all their military strength is being committed to Ukraine. And I've actually heard other analysts who say the best fighting forces, not to take anything away from the forces that are engaged in Ukraine, which are, incredible fighting forces as well, but I've heard that Russia's top military fighting forces, I mean, their real A-level military capabilities are being held back. These are the reports that I'm reading. I can't confirm this, but I do believe that the analysts that are saying this are pretty reputable, and they've gotten a lot of things right. So that is the speech, the comments from Putin. From Ukraine, you have statements with regards to Boris's resignation that they are saddened. Zelensky specifically said that he was saddened by Boris's resignation. Ukrainian President Zelensky offered a warm farewell to Boris Johnson as the British PM tendered his resignation on Thursday. Johnson's departure has saddened the Ukrainians, Zelensky claimed, as he expressed hope that Kiev and London would remain friends and strong allies after his departure. Friend Boris Johnson, all Ukrainians were saddened by the news of the resignation of the leader of the Conservative Party. We are sincerely grateful for the decisive and uncompromising help from the first days of the war. Special thanks for your leadership in defending the interests of Ukraine in the international arena, Zelensky said in a special media post, sharing a photo with Johnson taken during the latter's recent visit to Kiev. Yeah, that second visit to Kiev, where for a second or third time Boris Johnson talked the Ukraine out of trying to find peace with Russia. Boris did this consistently. He consistently sabotaged any types of peace deals and negotiations between Ukraine and Russia. What a despicable act that was. So Zelensky is saddened by Boris's departure. The White House, they issued statements as well, and they didn't even mention Boris Johnson's name, actually, which was kind of interesting. I find that very, very interesting. I guess for the U.S., for the Biden White House, it doesn't matter who's the Prime Minister of the UK. They know that they're going to control and puppeteer whoever it is. So names don't really matter. According to CBS News, the United Kingdom and the United States are the closest of friends and allies, and the special relationship between our people remains strong and enduring. I look forward to continuing our close cooperation with the government of the United Kingdom, as well as our allies and partners around the world, on a range of important priorities. That includes maintaining a strong and united approach to supporting the people of Ukraine as they defend themselves against Putin's brutal war on their democracy and holding Russia accountable for its actions. That was the statement attributed to Biden. They didn't even mention Boris Johnson's name. Doesn't matter. Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Ben Wallace, Rishi Sunak, who cares? We're going to puppeteer whoever it is that lives in 10 Downing Street anyway. So it doesn't really matter who's at that address. The U.S. will be able to control them either way. And they're going to continue to push the UK to escalate with Russia and Ukraine, and that is the problem. In the statement from the White House, they have to bring up Ukraine. That's top on the mind of the Biden White House. That's number one, to continue to support Ukraine and the failed Ukraine policy. And that is the exact policy that is destroying all of these countries. And we're going to see all of them getting destroyed one by one in the collective West. One by one, these countries are going to fall apart. Germany may be next. Maybe it's going to be the Netherlands. Look at what's happening in the Netherlands. The farmer protest is spreading. It's spreading to Germany. It's spreading to Poland. How about that? People in Poland are protesting now. We had an MP, an AfD MP in the parliament just yesterday confront Olaf Scholz and say, you know, we've got a serious crisis. Our country is falling apart. And we've got this whole Nord Stream 1 debacle with this technical equipment that needs to be repaired in Canada, and we can't get it back. And we've had a 40% decrease in gas flows to Germany, and it's depleted our storage of gas. And he was like, well, why don't we just open up Nord Stream 2? And what did Olaf Scholz say to him? He said, you're a Putin troll. He didn't answer him. He just attacked the AfD MP as a Putin troll. He said, what you're saying is exactly what Putin wants. I've heard a lot of people say, open up Nord Stream 2. Save the country. Why should people in Germany suffer? Why should people in Germany become poor? Why? You have Nord Stream 2, it's there. Open it up. But it would be a terrible political defeat for Olaf Scholz if he did that. But Olaf Scholz is defeated either way. He is on life support. His government is on life support. The problem is that the Greens have a lot of support in Germany, and it's the Greens that have led Germany close or over the cliff at this point. Germany is as bad, if not worse, than UK at this moment in time. So the Zelensky curse. All these people that support Zelensky, well, they're going to start dropping off one by one. And on the flip side, in Russia, we have Lavrov in Vietnam making deals. We have Lavrov in Indonesia making deals. He is looking east. He sees the future. The future lies east. And Lavrov is going around the world making friends and allies and doing business. We have an article from Bloomberg saying that the Russian economy is more resilient than expected. And Russia appears to be on track for a much shallower recession than was initially expected this year. Surging oil shipments have blunted the impact of US and EU sanctions, according to Bloomberg. Big banks are slashing their outlook for the drop in output in Russia this year to as little as 3.5%. Russian officials, some of whom foresaw a contraction of as much as 12%, are now preparing to update their forecasts to less than half of that. How's this sanctions war going for the collective West? How are things turning out? British Airways is cutting 10,300 flights this summer. British Airways, the national carrier of the United Kingdom. I mean, when I think of British Airways, I think of like in my mind from flying around all these years, I think of the top airline. It's British Airways, for God's sakes. This is the airline that represents the United Kingdom, and they're struggling. 10,300 flights are being cut. And of course, they're blaming it to the COOF policy and firing pilots and flight attendants, which they did. And the minute you fire flight attendants and pilots and staff and all these people, they don't come back. The minute you fire them, they say, you know what? This is my opportunity for a new start, maybe a new career. I'm finally out of this business, so I'll do something else. I'm not coming back. Or they find jobs elsewhere, and that's it. You're not going to get these people back. But they laid off a lot of people. They fired a lot of people. And you know what else did British Airways in, which they're not saying, which they will never admit? The sanctions against Russia. You lost a lot of Russian tourists, a lot in Europe, number one. But more importantly, number two is that you closed off the airspace of Europe to Russia, and Russia retaliated by closing off all of their airspace to European carriers, to collective West carriers. And when you look at a map, you understand that closing off Russian and Ukrainian and Belarus airspace is pretty significant. It means that any long-haul flights, British Airways flights that had to go from west to east, finished. No more. That's all gone because of this support for Ukraine. And yet the White House continues to make statements that the next prime minister that's coming in for the UK, you have to support Ukraine, even though it means that your country's going to continue to fall apart. And before I get to a clown world, going back to Germany, we actually have Habeck is starting to panic. The technology vice chancellor, technology, environmental minister, the jack of all trades, master of none, Habeck, he is starting to panic, and he is calling up Canada like crazy, trying to figure out ways to get this equipment back to Germany and to Russia. This Siemens equipment for the gas flows, and Canada continues to refuse. Canada's still making up the excuse that, because of sanctions, we can't get this equipment back, and you won't be able to fix Nord Stream 1, and they're going back and forth. And you know who's telling Canada not to fix the equipment? People are saying it's Zelensky and Ukraine. Maybe, but it's the United States. It's the neocons. And the neocons are saying this because one of the goals of the Ukraine project was not only about destroying Russia and destroying Ukraine. It was about the deindustrialization of Germany. And so I think the United States sees that Germany is effectively being deindustrialized. And so they're going to finish it off. The neocons want to finish off the job. And that's why they're telling Canada to continue to delay the delivery of this equipment. It's not the Canadians that aren't sending it back to the US because they want to damage Germany. It's forces in the swamp. It's the neocons. It's the mantra of NATO. Keep Russia out, keep the US in, and keep Germany down. And so they're currently in the middle of keeping Germany down forever. And so you can't have that equipment get sent back to Germany. Canada is going to continue to delay the repair of this equipment. And that means less gas flow to Germany. Let's do a clown world. Let's do a clown world to wrap this up. And this will be a quick clown world. And it has to do with Ukraine's gold. Now, I can't confirm this 100%, but I am getting reports that Ukraine has sent its gold to Poland for safekeeping. Whatever gold it has. I don't even know how much gold Ukraine has, if any. But from what I understand, the Ukrainian government has sent its gold to Poland in order to safeguard the precious metal. Yeah, goodbye Ukraine gold. You're not going to be seeing that ever again. That gold is gone. So you have a 750 billion money grab that's taking place right now in the collective West with regards to this summit that just took place in Switzerland and trying to figure out ways to confiscate 750 billion. You have Ukraine's gold now, if this is true. You have Ukraine's gold now being sent out of the country. You have what I consider to be reliable reports coming out that Ukraine is about to recruit women into the military to fight. The picture that I'm seeing is a collapse coming. After August, when this counteroffensive that Arestovich and these guys are talking about doesn't materialize, then after August, September, October, you might very well see the collapse of this entire project, this Ukrainian adventure. You really might see the collapse. And what the collective West is doing is they're grabbing as much money as they can and trying to figure out ways to grab as much money as they can before the collapse happens. So I will leave it there. That is the clown world. TheDuran.locals.com. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel and go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.